How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Listen, if you've been looking for a remote controlled panning head for your GoPro or your smartphone, do you want to stick around for this video? Because I'm going to share some shit I know about this 360-degree electronic panorama head from AFI. Alright guys, so I don't know if you watched my other video on the YT260. It was another inexpensive pan and tilt unit. It was obviously not worth the money and I haven't used it since. Now, this particular one, I have to admit, I'm kind of holding my breath a little bit because this came in right around 30 bucks US, so it's also inexpensive. But it kind of looked a lot better, and some of the reviews that I'd seen made it look like it might be worth trying out, and at 30 bucks I thought I'd give it a shot. So let's have a look at it. So before I even get this thing out of the box, it already looks like at least this company invests a little bit more in the product, you know, just in terms of the packaging. If you order enough stuff, I think you kind of know what I'm talking about. That would be the remote control unit, and that actually already looks sturdier and better made. Instructions. We have a micro USB, which I'm assuming is for charging. That is the pan head. So it looks like it's got a 1/4-inch screw hole on the bottom to mount it to a tripod. Oh, look at that. That's kind of cool. Actually, I thought that's what this does. So you've got, you can mount it to a tripod, but it's also got these little fold-out legs. We have an on-off button. So not a lot of in terms of controls on the unit itself. Okay, back to the packaging. That's kind of cool. A mount to put your smartphone in. So that would mount on top like that. Oh, it comes with a little GoPro tripod mount. These are always handy to have. And a little carrying case. All right, so I cut away while I charged this up. It'd be kind of boring for you to sit here and watch it charge for a couple hours, but basically use the micro USB. I just plugged it into my router because my router has a USB out, but I mean, you can plug that into anything. It's got a little red light on it that flashes while it's charging, and there you go. So let's have a look and see what this thing does. The one thing that's kind of cool, I don't know if you can see this, but around the outside it's marked with numbers. And the reason that I say that's kind of cool is one of the things that I want to do with this, I want to do a special effects shot where I'm zooming through the hood on my snowmobile. And because this has numbers marked on it, if I put this on a tripod and I don't move it between takes, I can do one pan from the outside of the hood, and then using the numbers, I can do another pan. So there's other times when you're going to want to do that, right? You're going to want to line two shots up. So that's why I kind of think those numbers are kind of handy to have. All right, so let's take the remote control out of here. And it's got one of these little plastic tabs. Just to keep the battery disconnected while it's in shipping. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is turn it on. So let's try panning it. Okay. All right, so it's when you press the right pan button, it will begin to pan. And then to stop it, you press the power button at the bottom. And that looks like a fairly smooth pan. I don't know if you can hear it, but there actually is a slight sound there, and we'll have to see if the camera picks that up. Okay, so that seems to be its slowest pan there. Now, can we speed it up while it, yes you can. Okay, so I'm just gonna hold this down and see how fast it'll pan. So that looks like its top panning speed. And that looks like its lowest panning speed. If you bought this for time lapse, then it probably is not going to be slow enough. Okay, let's have a look at this 10-second one. Okay, so you've got a time lapse button here. It says 10 seconds on it. And what it does is it pans that head every 10 seconds, about 40 degrees. So I think if you were looking for a panning head to do time lapse, I don't think that's useful at all. This is actually called a 10-second time lapse button, but I know from shooting time lapse, I have a little sort of mechanical time lapse pan head, and it moves much slower than that. Those are very large increments to do a time lapse, so I'm not sure how useful it is for that purpose. So the other button we have here is this left-right cycle button, and if I press that, it's going to pan at 90 degrees one way, and then 90 degrees the other, and it'll continue to do that until I press stop. All right, so I've got my smartphone connected to this with Bluetooth, and now if I use the button on the remote, it'll actually take a picture, which is kind of cool. All right, so this is the effect I was talking about. I'm going to take a pan across the hood, and then I'm going to open the hood and take another pan, and it's because of these numbers here, I can make sure that I'm doing this pan at exactly the same on both of those, so that when I superimpose them, everything will line up. Okay, so a few pros and cons, and do I think that you should buy this? Well, on the pro side, I think it's inexpensive. They're right around 30 bucks US. I think the materials it's made out of seem to be fairly decent. It seems a fairly solid construction. I think the fact that they throw in accessories like the smartphone mount and the GoPro mount at a $30 price point, I think that's pretty good value. I think being able to connect this with a smartphone via Bluetooth is kind of a neat feature. But on the negative side, and do I think you should buy it? So it doesn't have a tilt, which I knew that when I bought it. The ability to control the speed, although that's nice, they didn't make it so you could slow it right down to a crawl, which would have made it useful for time lapse. The 10-second 40-degree movement is just not useful for a time-lapse feature. The other con, I found the remote control was really a pain in the butt. I found that I was constantly playing with it. I don't know if there's some condensation in it or whatever, but I found it's those little blister type buttons, and I was constantly playing around with it to try and get it to work. That was a huge minus, and I put a few batteries in it, so it wasn't that. And again, just like that other cheap one that I reviewed, it's noisy, right? So the motor that they're using in this, again, your camera is mounted right to it. And again, that's probably just because it's inexpensive, and you get what you pay for, right? So I don't know, like if you're going to use it and you're going to be putting music over top of it or whatever, and you just want a really cheap option that once in a while you can pan your camera around, it's not bad. But you can't pan and talk over it because it's going to pick up the sound from the motors. Where if you buy a more expensive unit, which is obviously what I'm going to end up having to do, is just suck it up and buy a more expensive one. Those would have nice quiet motors that the camera's not going to pick up. All right, so I don't think it's overly useful, but it's only 30 bucks, and so that's my thoughts, and I'll let you make up your mind. All right, so I hope you found that video useful. If you did, do me a favor and give me a thumbs up. Until next time, I'm Dave Clark. Thanks for watching.